Right, my dear children. Now, in the earlier chapters, we discussed about several biological processes that's going to occur within a plant. First of all, we discussed about the photosynthesis. Then we discussed how these photosynthetic products and what are the other products which are getting transported from one place to another in a plant. And we discussed the transportation methods, right, in the earlier chapters related to the lesson. Now, in this chapter, we'll be discussing another very important biological process that's going to occur within the plant. So, this is referred as the transpiration, right? Once again, another main type of biological process that's going to occur within the plant, transpiration. So, when we are studying about the diversity of plants under the lesson number 3, I hope that you have already studied about the transpiration process, right? Now, in detail, we'll be discussing further things related to the transpiration within this chapter, right? So, here it is given, let us engage in activity given to identify another important biological process that takes place in the plants. So, which is the transpiration process. So, here we are going to study another biological process which is going to occur within the plant about the transpiration. So, here we will be needing these materials in observing the process of transpiration, my dear children. So, first of all, we will be needing a potted plant. Potted plant is quite good because it's portable and we can carry it here and there. So, that's the most easiest plant that we can take in investigating about the transpiration process, okay, as it is portable. Next one, a polythene bag. Right, a polythene bag. Then rubber bands. Rubber bands. So these are the ones that we need, materials that we need. We'll be needing several rubber bands, a polythene bag and a good potted plant. Okay, so this activity is really simple. What do you have to do? You have to take the polythene bag and insert the polythene bag into a branch of the potted plant. Then you have to tie a good knot so that the branch is getting enclosed by the polythene bag. Okay, that's how to do it. And we need to keep the plant for some time. And we have to keep the setup for some time, and after that we need to observe what has happened. Okay, so it's quite simple, very simple to do this activity, right? So let's head on to see how to conduct this activity then. So method is given. This is the way of doing the experiment. It's really simple. You can see it over here. So I have so here it's the potted plant has been covered by using the polythene bag. Okay, potted plant has been covered by using the polythene bag. So a branch can be taken, right? Branch of the plant can be taken and we can cover it by using the polythene bag quite well. Make sure when you are covering it, right, make sure to tie a good knot by using the rubber bands. Okay, so we'll write down the method in conducting the experiment. Insert the polythene bag to a branch with leaves, according to the figure. According to the figure. So insert the polythene bag to a branch with leaves according to the figure. Need to insert the polythene bag to a branch according to the given figure. Then after that, what you have to do? Make the polythene bag So make the polythene bag enclosed to the environment using rubber bands. Right. So after that, we need to close the end of the polythene bag by using the rubber bands. Okay. So it's really simple. What you have to do? You have to insert the polythene bag to a branch with leaves according to the given figure. Then make the polythene bag enclosed to the environment using rubber bands. Okay. So this is our method in conducting the experiment. So this is really simple, my dear children. You just take a potted plant, insert the polythene bag, tie it very well, right, and enclose it to the environment. Okay. So this is the way of doing the experiment. So let's head on to the lab. We'll conduct the experiment and let's see what's going to happen over here when I'm going to enclose this system. Right, my dear children. Now, in order to show that the transpiration is going to occur in a plant, what I'm going to do here is I have taken a potted plant. Now I'm going to take this polythene bag, right, and I'm going to cover up one branch that has leaves like this by using the polythene cover, right. Then after that, I'm going to seal it very well. Right. After that, I'm going to seal it very well. Right, like this way. I'm going to seal it by wrapping a piece of thread like this. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this system, right, for few hours. If you can keep it in the sunlight. So by that way you can get more quiet and faster observations. But however, I'm going to keep this system in an environment, in an open environment, right, for about 2 to 3 hours. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to observe what are the changes that has occurred within the polythene bag. So let's keep the system in an open environment, and let's observe what's going to happen. So my dear children, now I'm going to remove the system. Now here, actually I'm going to remove the polythene bag in the system. So here you can observe several droplets. Within the polythene paper, you can observe several droplets here, right? So to check what are these droplets, I have a chemical substance here with me. So this is the same chemical substance. The blue color one, you know obviously what is this blue color one. So it's copper sulfate. But however, this is hydrous copper sulfate, which is in blue color. Hydrous means when absorbing water vapor in our atmosphere, this kind of light blue color or like white color copper sulfate is getting converted to a wonderful blue color like this. So what I'm going to do here is, in order to check whether these droplets are water or not, I'm going to add this anhydrous copper sulfate, not the hydrous one. I'm going to insert the anhydrous copper sulfate, right? So let's add some anhydrous copper sulfate and see whether the color is getting changed into blue color or not. Yes. Now if you check the system carefully within here, you can see that the droplets are getting converted to good blue color. It's because of the copper sulfate, it's because of the water which is present within the polythene bag over here. So if I'm going to add more, you can see the color change very, right? See? You can observe the color change. So here you can observe the color change very well, right? So it's now near to this color. Check my children, it's very near to this color, right? So actually there are a small bit of droplets in here. So I'll take these into my hand. See? So it's equal to this color. So anhydrous copper sulfate is turning into this kind of a blue color from this color light blue to this kind of a blue color is getting converted, or we can observe this kind of a blue color in copper sulfate solution only with the presence of water. So this is called as anhydrous copper sulfate, while this is called as hydrous copper sulfate. Anhydrous copper sulfate is getting converted to hydrous copper sulfate with the presence of water. So we can say that this polythene bag contains water droplets. It's from the chemical change which is going to occur within anhydrous copper sulfate. So my dear children, it's obvious to us that during the transpiration, water is removed from the leaves as water vapor. So that water vapor is getting condensed within the polythene bag to form water droplets. So now let's head on to the classroom once again and we'll discuss further things related with our lesson. Right, my dear children, now when I was enclosing that and leave it for some time, and I'm going to I was once again observing it, you could observe that there was water particles, water droplets within the polythene bag, right? I proved that by using copper sulfate as well. I have inserted some copper sulfate, then when adding copper sulfate, anhydrous copper sulfate, which is in white color, anhydrous copper sulfate turned to blue color. It's because there is water particles, right? There is water. Those droplets were water, right? Copper sulfate is turning into blue color. Anhydrous copper sulfate is turning into blue color with the presence of, right, with the presence of water particles. So that's why it turned into blue color. So within this experiment, it is obvious to us that leaves of the plant is going to release water vapor, and when water vapor is getting condensed, water droplets are getting created, right? However, we can't see it because it is expelling from the leaf in the gaseous nature as water vapor. So we have to enclose the system by using a cover. So our cover was the polythene bag. So when I'm going to cover it by using the polythene bag, it is very obvious and very clear to us that the system or the plant leaf is going to release water vapor. That vapor is the one which is getting converted into droplets with the presence of a cover or the polythene bag, right? So in order to provide you a good conclusion, I have added several copper sulfate anhydrous copper sulfate crystals so that the copper sulfate crystals turn into blue color upon touching with the water droplets. So from that experiment, we can finally conclude that water is getting expelled or removed from the leaves, right? So we'll write down our observation and conclusion. Very simple. Observation: droplets of water is seen droplets of water is seen within the bag. So droplets of water is seen within the polythene bag. This is the observation. Conclusion, my dear children. What is the conclusion? Conclusion is quite simple. Here the water is released from the leaves, right? Water vapor is released from the leaves. This water vapor then finally come into contact with the polythene layer and getting condensed to form water droplets. Okay. So water vapor is released to the environment right? Water vapor is released to the environment. Water vapor is released to the environment by plant leaves. By plant leaves. This is our final conclusion from the activity, right? Even I use that copper sulfate thing to show you that this is water vapor, right? So my dear children, it's obvious to us that from this experiment, each and every plant is going to release water vapor from their leaves, right? So this process of releasing water vapor from their leaves is referred as the transpiration. You already know this thing because we have learned this thing under the third lesson, right? So transpiration is the process of releasing water vapor from the leaves. Especially this water vapor is getting released from the stomatal pores, right? It is getting released from the stomatal pores of the plant leaf, right? So it is given, you will notice that there are droplets in the polythene bag. When some anhydrous copper sulfate crystals are put on the droplets. Now when we are going to add some anhydrous copper sulfate into that droplets. You could clearly see the color change from white to blue. The crystals turn from white to blue. Crystals are getting turned into blue color from white color. So that you can come into a conclusion that the droplets were water droplets. These water droplets mainly come out from the leaves. So these water droplets mainly come out from the leaves. So it is given here. The process of giving off water vapor, really important my dear children, water vapor. Process of giving off of water vapor by evaporation through aerial parts of a plant is termed as transpiration. So through the aerial parts like leaves, the process of releasing water vapor is referred as or is called as transpiration. Transpiration is the process of releasing water vapor to the atmosphere from the aerial parts of the plant. Right. Mainly this happens through the stomata in leaves. So mainly this thing is going to happen through the stomata in leaves. Right? Stomatal pores are the ones which are going to help in transpiration process. Transpiration mainly happens through stomata. Right? You know that stomata are the special kinds of pores, holes located on the surface of the plant leaf. Those pores are the ones which are helpful in absorbing oxygen gas for the respiration, absorbing carbon dioxide gas for the photosynthesis process, and release of water vapor and oxygen during the respiration process plus after the photosynthesis as a byproduct. Okay, right. So stomatal pores are also going to release water in the form of vapor upon evaporation. Right? So this process is the one then referred as the transpiration. So transpiration is a special kind of a biological process which occur within a plant. Each and every plant is going to show this transpiration process. That's why we are studying this thing under the biological processes of plants. Right. So let us engage in activity given to show that plant absorb water to fill the gap of water due to transpiration. Now you know that plants are going to transpirate water, or it's going to remove water by the process of transpiration. So if the plant is going to transpirate water to the environment, plant will lack water at some certain times. Okay, means that plant should have to absorb to fill the gap, to enclose the gap between the water levels upon transpiration process which is going to occur. Now because of transpiration some amount of water getting expelled to the environment, no. So this water should be reabsorbed by the environment. Otherwise the water balance between the plant would not be, or water balance would not be maintained to a certain level. So that might be a problem to the plant. Sometimes the plant would, sometimes if the plant will not be able to absorb the necessary amount of water, the plant may die. Right? So it's important to keep the optimum level of water within the plant. So here by this activity, we are going to show that the released amount of water is being absorbed from the environment to maintain that balance. Right? Upon transpiration, water is getting expelled. We know that. But in order to fill that gap, the plant should again reabsorb water from the environment. So by this activity, we are going to show that expelled amount of water vapor is getting reabsorbed to fill the gap between transpiration within a plant. Right, so within this activity you will be needing branch of a plant. Branch of a plant. Right, branch means actually it's better to take the topmost aerial part of the plant. Okay, topmost aerial part is the best option, best branch to take. I'm talking about the shoot apex. Okay, I'm talking about the shoot apex. The area which has the shoot apex, that would be the perfect one for this experiment. Okay, right. Then we'll be needing some coconut oil. Coconut oil, a stopper, right? Then clay or grease, right? Clay or grease. In order to seal the system, we'll be needing clay or grease. Then U-tube, and obviously some water. Right, we'll be needing some water with a beaker, right? Actually, beaker is not important because we are using the U-tube. Water should be there, right? We need to have some water, right? So these are the materials that we need, my dear children, in conducting this activity. We'll be needing a branch of a plant. The topmost shoot is a good option for this thing. If you are going to take that topmost shoot or the aerial shoot of the plant, shoot apex, then that is the best option for this experiment. Then we'll be needing a layer of coconut oil, a stopper, and to seal off the system we'll be needing clay or grease, then U-tube and some water. So these are the materials we'll be needing in conducting this activity, right? So let's see how to conduct the activity then. So it's really simple. See, here you are given with the figure. So U-tube is being fixed to a stand. Then water is being filled to the U-tube. So till the end or at the end of the U-tube, at the right hand side of the U-tube, you can observe coconut oil layer plus water, and it has been stopper, right? It has been sealed to the environment, right, by using the stopper. Then after that, water is being filled up to the topmost level until the coconut oil layer is going to hit the stopper. The water is being filled. Then at the next level, this level, the shoot is being fixed at the other arm of the U-tube, right? So let's see how to conduct, or what is the method. Fill the U-tube with water, cut a leafy shoot under water, right? So you have to cut this thing underwater, then you have to insert the leafy shoot in here. Fix it to the rubber cork and fix the cork to one arm of the U-tube. Seal it using grease or clay. So one arm we have to fix it, and we have to enclose it by using clay or grease. Then put some coconut oil to the other arm of the U-tube and mark the level of water. After an hour, observe the water level in the arm with coconut oil. So after fixing this thing, what do you have to do? You have to identify what has happened to this arm, to that arm, okay? To that arm over there that has the coconut oil, you have to observe what's going to happen. Now in here, it is at the topmost level touching that stopper thing, okay? after 1 or 2 hours, you have to observe what has happened over there. So it's really simple. Okay. So my dear children, you know that upon transpiration, water is getting released from the plant. So that amount of water should again be reabsorbed. So when this plant is going to remove water as vapor to the environment, right, that water should again be reabsorbed to the plant. So plant is absorbing water once again. This shoot is going to reabsorb water which is being expelled from the transpiration process. Upon absorbing water, definitely the water level should fall down with the coconut oil layer, right? So after keeping this system for about few hours, we can observe that the water level is going to come down after some time. Okay, it's because of releasing water vapor to the atmosphere by the plant shoot. However, upon that, water is again reabsorbed by the plant shoot. This should be our observation, my dear children, right? So let's head on to the lab. We'll conduct this experiment and let's see whether our observations are accurate or not, right? So let's head on to the lab and see whether expected observations can be get from this experiment. Right, my dear children. Now to observe what happens during the transpiration process, I have prepared this setup. So in this setup, you can observe I have taken a branch of a plant, right? And I have inserted to the cork over here, well sealed, right? So the whatever the particles is not entering into the system or not getting outside. So within the U-tube, you can observe there is water. So I have sealed it very well so that I can guarantee you that water is not getting evaporated from the system. At the other end, I have now I'm going to put for the other end some amount of coconut oil, right? But however, I need to explain the experiment, so I didn't put that thing still. So this is my setup. So in here, altogether you can observe water, the branch of the plant, then firmly fixed cork within the U-tube, right? And as it is firmly fixed, none of the water particles are getting exit from the system. The only way of exiting particles is through the plant branch only. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to seal the other end by inserting some amount of coconut oil. Right, so I have sealed it. Now as you can see, if you observe this end very carefully, right, now the water level is at the topmost level, like 1 or 2 centimeters behind the top. So it's at the very top, like here means like 1 or 2 centimeters behind the topmost level. Water is like up to this kind of a level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the system for a while. You know that now this system is very sealed as it is not being exposed to environment. So only way of exiting water particles is only through the plant leaves, right? So let's observe, let's keep the system for a while and observe what's going to happen for that water level at our other side, not this side, at our other side. So let's observe what's going to happen over there after few hours. So let's keep the system and we'll observe after few hours. So my dear children, as you can observe, after few hours, the water level within our other side, not the area that has the branch, but the other side, the water level has dropped down. It's because the water is getting absorbed by the branch of this plant and it is getting vaporized or evaporated to our environment through these leaves. So that's how the transpiration is going to work. So upon evaporation of water, the water level is going to decrease gradually. That's why at our left hand side, the water level gradually going to come down. So you can clearly observe now in the earlier case, the coconut oil layer was at the top, right? Now there is a clear gap between, right? Now there's a clear gap between the coconut oil layer plus the edge of the U-tube. So my dear children, this concludes that during the transpiration process, water is getting absorbed and it is evaporated to our environment. So let's head down to the classroom once again and we'll continue with our next works. So my dear children, we conducted the activity and you could clearly observe that the expected observation can also be seen from that experiment. So before I was going to do the experiment, I told you what's going to happen. In the same way it has happened, right? So our observation was quite simple. What is our observation? The water level that has coconut oil came down. Okay, it comes down. Reason for this thing is, conclusion is, water is being absorbed by the plant shoot. That's why the water level at the other side is going to come down. So we'll write down our observations and conclusions then. Water level comes down after some time in the arm of the U-tube, which had coconut oil. So water level comes down after some time in the arm of the U-tube which had coconut oil, right? In the arm that had coconut oil, the water level comes down. Okay, that was the observation. What is the conclusion from this observation? Why does the water level is going to come down? Because the plant shoot is going to absorb water, right? Because the plant shoot is going to absorb water. So we can say that plant shoot is going to absorb water from this experiment. Plant shoot is absorbing water upon transpiration, right? Upon transpiration to fill the gap or to maintain the water balance, right? So we can write down our conclusion then. So here we can say that plant shoot absorbs water from the U-tube. From the U-tube, plant shoot is going to absorb water. That's why the water level comes down after some time in the arm of the U-tube which had coconut oil. That's why the other side comes down, because this side water is being absorbed. Okay. So from this experiment we can say that upon transpiration process, right, upon transpiration process, water is being absorbed by the plant shoot, right, in order to maintain their water balance within the plant. Right then. So my dear children, transpiration once again given, a good explanation for the transpiration process. You will observe that water level in the free arm of the U-tube decreases. The shoot loses water through transpiration. You know that plant shoot is going to lose water through transpiration, right? Upon transpiration, water contained within the plant shoot is going to release to the environment in the form of vapor. But however, to reduce the gap or to maintain the optimum water level within the plant, that released water should be again reabsorbed. Okay, so that's why the plant or the other side in the U-tube, the water level is going to decrease. So here it is given. Therefore, it absorbs the same amount of water from the U-tube. This is the reason for decreasing of water level in the free arm of the U-tube. So that's why the free arm at the other side of the U-tube, the water level is going to decrease. Okay. So this is mainly happening because of the transpiration process. Upon releasing, the same amount should absorb. Same amount should reabsorb. Okay. So that reabsorption process is the reason for decrease in water level at the arm which contains coconut oil. Right then. So you are given with a figure related to the transpiration. So here you can observe an enlarged image of a plant leaf. Here you can observe these small pores. These are the ones which are referred as stomata. Right? These stomata are micropores. Pores means holes. Okay? Micro means very small. We can observe these things under microscope only. Okay? On the surface there are holes, but microscopic holes, stomata. So water vapor lost from leaf pores, or leaf pores means stomata, in transpiration. So by transpiration, these are going to release to the environment, right? So the small openings on the underside of the leaves are called the stomata. So you can observe the stomata in here. The small openings, these are small openings, right, contained within the leaf, right? So you know that water which is getting absorbed by the plant roots is getting transported towards the upper parts of the body, right, plant body. Actually, this transpiration process is going to help in order to take water to the top parts of the plant as well, right? It's like a pull, transpiration pull. We refer this thing as the transpiration pull, right? Upon releasing these water vapor to the environment, like it's getting pulled up, water is getting pulled up. It helps to transport water to the upper parts of the plant as well upon the transpiration pull. Okay. So this is, what do you mean by the transpiration, my dear children? It's really simple. Through these pores which are referred as stomatal pores, water which is being absorbed by the root hairs of the plant is getting expelled to the environment once again in the form of vapor, right? In the form of water vapor, remember. So this is the process which is referred as the transpiration. Okay, it's really simple. So remember always, transpiration is going to happen through stomata in the form of water vapor. Okay, it's not getting expelled as droplets or in the liquid form. It's going to expel as a gaseous medium or as a gas, especially as water vapor. Okay, through stomata as water vapor. These two key points are really important, my dear children. Okay, through stomata by or as water vapor. This is the process of transpiration then. Okay. So due to transpiration, the speed of the transportation within the plant increases. So due to this transpiration process, the transportation is going to increase. I told you that upon transpiration process, upon releasing these gases to the environment, upon releasing water vapor to the environment, right, the rate of absorption of water by the roots are also going to increase. By that way, the transportation process, osmotic process, the diffusion process is also going to increase. So upon transpiration, we can say that the process of transportation is going to increase, right? The process of transportation is going to increase when there is a transpiration process, or when there is high transpiration, the transportation process is also going to increase. Other than this, there are some other functions of transpiration as well. Now, other than this thing, other than the transpiration, there are other functions of transpiration, right? Transpiration is really important for a plant. There are some other processes, right? Some other functions of transpiration. So now let's investigate what are those other functions which are important for the plant upon the process transpiration. So first of all, you are given the transpiration pull. Transpiration pull. I told you about the transpiration pull. Transpiration pull is the pull given during the absorption of water upon releasing water vapor to the environment because of transpiration, right? So transpiration pull is responsible for the continuous ascent, right? Continuous ascent of water and nutrients from the roots to the topmost part of the plant. I explained this thing, right? The water which is being absorbed by the plant roots should transport it to the upper parts of the plant body. This transpiration pull, that's going to help in transporting these substances to the upper part of the plant body, right? Upon releasing water vapor, a pull is getting created towards up, right? So because of that pull, water and other minerals are getting absorbed very faster to the topmost part of the plant. Okay, so the transpiration pull is really important for the ascent of particles from the roots towards the topmost part of the plant body. Okay, as the water is evaporated, transpiration helps the plant in cooling. Now you know that if you take our skin is going to produce sweat when there is extreme environmental conditions. Extreme environmental condition means here in the sense upon heating, when increasing temperature in the environment, you know that our body is going to produce sweat. Then when sweat is getting vaporized, some amount of heat energy is getting absorbed. Some amount of heat energy is getting absorbed from our body, because there's no possible way of turning vapor in, there's no possible way of turning droplets into a vapor, right? Droplets into a vapor other than providing some amount of heat energy. We have to provide some amount of heat energy in order to turn droplets into vapor. So that heat energy is absorbing from our body by water droplets or sweat. So sweat is going to absorb heat from our body and turn into vapor and getting expelled to the environment. So upon absorbing heat energy to the water droplets or to the sweat droplets, what will happen here is our body is getting cooled down. Our body is getting cooled down because heat is getting released to the environment, or heat is getting absorbed by those sweat particles, and upon absorbing heat energy, body is getting cooled down. So in the same way, upon transpiration process, water vapor is coming out. So it helps to cool the plant, right? Maintain an optimum temperature within the plant body. Same way, it's identical to the production of sweat. Okay. So upon releasing water vapor to the atmosphere, it helps to maintain an optimum temperature, or it helps to cool down the plant. Okay. It maintains the water cycle by evaporating water. Actually, this thing is not that much important for the plant, but it is a very important factor for the survival of the biosphere. Water cycle, it helps to maintain the water cycle. In our biosphere means the earth, water is getting circulated. So plant root is going to absorb water, then through transpiration, those water is getting expelled to the environment. Once again, from the soil, plant root is going to absorb water, then once again through transpiration, water is expelled. So it's like a cyclic process. So it helps to maintain that water cycle in our biosphere. Right? Actually, it is not a main use regarding to a plant, right? But however, it's a very important process for the survival of the biosphere, my dear children, right? So it's a main function which is very helpful for the survival of the biosphere, right? So transpiration is going to help to maintain the water cycle, or to balance the water cycle, right? So these are the important facts regarding transpiration in a plant. Okay, so my dear children, once again, it helps to the main important is given under here, in here. So due to transpiration, the speed of the transportation within the plant is going to increase, right? So I told you that increasing the transportation, right? Increasing the rate of transportation, that's the main cause of transpiration. Other than that, these can also be seen due to transpiration pull, right? Due to transpiration pull, the water which is being absorbed by the plant roots is being transported or ascent quickly towards the aerial parts or the top part of the plant body. Then as the water is evaporated through transpiration, right, the plant is getting cooled down due to loss of heat energy. Then it maintains the water cycle, right? It helps to maintain the water cycle in our biosphere. So these are the main functions, right? Main functions related to the transpiration, right? So these things are like the water, if you take the final one, main water cycle thing, that is not that much important for the plant, but however it is important for the biosphere. But these key facts are very important for the plant. For the plant itself, these factors are very much important, pretty much important. Okay, it helps to increase the rate of transportation. It helps to cool down the plant, and also this transpiration pull which is going to occur upon transpiration is going to help transport water to the upper parts of the plant body. Okay, right then. Transpiration is a process favorable not only for the plants but also for the environment. So I told you that for the biosphere also, for the survival of the biosphere also, transpiration is a very important biological process which is going to occur within plants. It helps to maintain the water cycle in our biosphere. So it is a very important factor or very important process carried out by plants. Serve heat. So these things are important, my dear children. Serve heat, extreme heat energy, strong wind, heavy winds, and strong light, heavy amount of light intensity, large amount of light intensity. So serve heat, high temperature, strong wind, heavy amount of wind, high flow of wind, and a strong light, heavy or large amount of light intensity. These factors are going to increase the rate of transpiration, right? So upon having high amount of temperature, upon having high amount of windy nature, upon having high amount of intensity of light, these factors are going to increase the rate of transpiration. Transpiration rate is very high when these factors are plenty available. So serve heat, strong wind, strong light increase the rate of transpiration, right? So that's why during daytime you can see that some herbal plants that do not grow that much to a height, right? Especially in balsam plant, you can observe that the plant stem is bent to a side, leaves are withered out. It's mainly because heavy transpiration which is going to occur during the daytime, right? During the daytime, heavy transpiration which is going to occur. Actually, transpiration, if large amount of transpiration is going to happen within like several weeks or several days, there is a probability that the plant may die, right? So in drought seasons, that's why the plants are going to die very quickly. If the plant is being newly introduced to the ground, then there is a high possibility in dying of the plant during a drought season because of the transpiration, right? So that's why we need to water the plant in drought seasons quite often, okay, right? So transpiration during dry condition may affect the plant to dry. So I told you that like few minutes earlier. In dry season, heavy transpiration could occur. So this may lead to several other conditions. Other conditions means bad conditions for the plant. Sometimes the plant may die because of not having enough water within the plant, especially in the drought season. Okay, if there is a drought, plant may die because of transpiration, because according to the release of water, there is no water to absorb from the soil because of the drought season. So in that kind of situation, definitely plants may die. Okay, so transpiration during dry condition may affect the plants to dry. There are many adaptations of plants that live in such weather conditions to conserve water. Now the plants that grow in arid areas, right? Plants that grow in arid areas, xerophytic plants. These plants have different adaptations in order to minimize the rate of transpiration. Why do they need to minimize the rate of transpiration? Because they are living in dry places. We discussed that the strong wind conditions and strong temperature, the heavy temperature is going to affect for the rate of transpiration, right? For the rate of transpiration, these factors are going to affect, especially the temperature. Higher the temperature, higher the transpiration process. So my dear children, it's important to have some adaptations in minimizing transpiration in the plants that grow in arid areas. Okay, like the plants which are grow in Hambantota, Anuradhapura areas, right? These areas, the rain is very less amount of rain is received in these areas. So the plants that are endemic to those areas, they have special kind of adaptations. Okay, now we are going to find out what are those special adaptations, right? What are those special kinds of adaptations that we can observe within the plants that grow in such areas, right? Within the plants that grow in such areas, within the plants that grow in arid areas, these xerophytic plants, right? These things are already learned in previous lesson, my dear children. Previous lesson means lesson number 3. Under the third lesson, when we are discussing about the diversity of plants, we discuss these things. But however, now I am going to once again remind you, right, what is going to happen in these places, right? So let's see what are the adaptations possessed by plants in order to minimize the transpiration. So adaptations in plants to minimize transpiration, right? Special adaptations in plants to minimize transpiration. So let us recall what you have studied in chapter 3, third chapter or third lesson. So on third lesson, we studied about several things related to the minimizing transpiration rate. So these things are being recalled right now. Let's see. Thick epidermis in aerial parts. Having a thick cuticle. Aerial parts have a thick cuticle there. It minimizes the rate of transpiration. So example is given, temple trees. You know that temple trees have a thick cuticle, waxy cuticle. It helps to minimize the rate of transpiration. Next one, leaves reduced to spines. Now leaves, there are no leaves. The organ which is referred as the leaves have been reduced, they have been converted into spines, thorns. There are no leaves. So if there are no leaves, how they are going to do the photosynthesis process? The stem helps in doing that thing. Photosynthetic stem like daluk and cactus. Right? Cactus and daluk. Daluk is also a type of a cactus plant. Right? Cactus is going to do the photosynthesis by using the stem. Those stems are referred as photosynthetic stems. Right? Leaves are reduced to spines. Over there is no leaves. There are no leaves. If there are no leaves, no stomata. If there is no stomata, then the rate of transpiration is very less. Right? So in cactus in cactus varieties like daluk, we can observe spines. So these spines are leaves. Leaves turned into scale leaves. Scale means very thin, tiny leaves. There is no large surface area like the leaves that we can identify in our normal household plants. Right? Example is given, kasa. So kasa is a special type of a plant leaf, right? Plant that has like leaves like this, like straight lines, not that much. They don't have like a larger surface area. Those are like lines, straight lines, okay? Kasa. Then leaves turned into scale leaves, okay, we discussed that, reducing the size of the leaves. Now size of the leaf is getting reduced, minimized, okay. Example given, Navahandi, a herbal plant. Size is reduced, surface area has been reduced over there, okay. Next one, hairs on the epidermis. On the epidermis of the plant, there are hairs. So those hairs are also going to minimize the rate of transpiration. Example given, sunflower and pumpkin, right? Then sunk stomata. sunk stomata. Sunk stomata means stomata is not at the surface, it's been sunk within the plant leaf. Example is given oleander, right? Oleander. Leaves falling during the dry season. Now, during the February month, right? During the February month, I think if you are living near to a rubber state, then the whole rubber leaves are going to fall down. It's because during the February month, heavy amount of or large amount of sunlight or sun rays can be observed. I mean, like the rain is very less, right? And the temperature is very high, right? As we are living in tropical areas, or as the Sri Lanka is Sri Lanka is a tropical country, we receive plenty of sunlight throughout the year. Especially on February, that amount is very high, right? So in this season, the driest season could be observed. So during this dry season, there are some plants in which the leaves are going to fall off. Examples are rubber and teak, right? Why does the leaves are going to fall off? Because to minimize the rate of transpiration during the drought season, right? During the sunny season or drought season, dry season, in order to minimize the rate of transpiration, the leaves are coming off from the plant. Then fleshy leaves, having fleshy leaves. Fleshy leaves means large amount of water getting stored within the plant leaf, right? That's why it is getting fleshy. Right? So in aloe vera, you know that there is fleshy plant leaves. Rolled leaves during dry season. Example given, Bimtamuru and Maharavana Reul, right? Bimtamuru and Maharavana Reul. So these are the examples for the rolled leaves during the dry season. Dry season, in these plants, the leaves are getting rolled, okay? So my dear children, these are the adaptations carried out by plants in order to minimize their rate of transpiration, okay? So I hope that you took a good knowledge about the transpiration process as well. Remember, transpiration is going to happen through stomata in the form of water vapor, okay? Right. So these are the adaptations carried out by plants to minimize the rate of transpiration. Right then the next process of releasing water from the plant leaves, okay, the next process, this process is called guttation, right? Guttation is a special process. We are studying guttation for the first time, my dear children. Transpiration we already learned. Photosynthesis we have heard. Diffusion and osmosis we heard for the first time, but however, it's very simple, no? This guttation process, a fresh new part. A type of a biological process which is going to help in releasing water to the environment. Okay? But the specialty here is that during guttation, water is released as droplets. Droplets means in the form of a liquid. Okay, in the form of a liquid. So let's see. When humidity is high at nights, the margins and the tip of the leaves in some plants such as anthurium, acacia ooze liquid drops. So some plants like acacia, right, and anthurium, and like plants like habarala, right? So those plants are going to ooze or remove water droplets when there is high humidity during the night. Okay. Think for a think for a while the reason for these droplets. At night, the percentage of water vapor in the atmosphere is high and transpiration occurs very rarely. Now, during night time, my dear children, you know that temperature is very low and humidity is very high. So upon having high humidity and low temperature, the rate of transpiration is going to reduce, right? We told that, we studied that transpiration is going to increase, the rate of transpiration is going to increase when there is heavy amount of sunlight or heavy amount of heat energy, heavy amount of light energy, high amount of light intensity, and high amount of wind. All of these factors are like getting reduced up to a certain extent during the night season or during the night time period. Temperature is getting down as there is no sun. Humidity is getting increased because water vapor is getting collected all around the environment, right? And there is no sun to evaporate those things. The third factor, wind nature is also not there at the night. So my dear children, in these conditions, the rate of transpiration during the night time period is very low, rarely occurring. Okay. Therefore, the margins and the tip of the leaves in small plants secrete water in the liquid form. So therefore, my dear children, therefore, in order to maintain their water balance, if there is heavy amount of water within the plant, then it is not good for the plant. Transpiration is also actually occurring, but however in very less percentage. It's occurring at the night. Transpiration is going to occur at the night, but however in very less percentage. Very rarely, rate of transpiration at night is very less. Okay, rate of transpiration is very less in night time period because of not having favorable factors for the transpiration. So in that case, to maintain the water balance within the plant, small plants like Anthurium, Acacia, Haberella, right, potato, tomato, those plants are going to use liquid water from the tip of the plants, okay, from the tip of the plants. Removal of water droplets from the tip of the plant is referred as guttation. But there's a special thing. They are excluded from the hydrothoids. So hydrothoids are the ones which are being mentioned in these figures. You can see it. These water droplets are not getting expelled from the stomata. They are getting expelled from hydrothoids, a special structure contained within the plant leaves like this. Especially in plants like Acacia, Anthurium, tomato, potato, those things, right? So those plants, if you observe the tip of those plants after one night, in the morning, early in the morning, definitely you can observe the tip contains some amount of liquid water, not water vapor, but liquid water droplets. Okay, it's mainly because of, my dear children, it's mainly because of the hydrothoids which are going to release water in the droplet form. This is referred as the guttation. This is the one which is referred as the guttation, right? So here in these figures you can observe that condition. See here in this plant leaf, you can observe the water in droplets form at the end of the leaf or at the tip of the leaf, right? So here also you can observe that thing. These are the ones which are referred as the hydrothoid, right? So this is the structure of a hydrothoid. You can see here. At here you can observe the water droplets. So hydrothoids are the ones which is going to release water in the droplet state. Okay, droplets as droplets. not in the vapor form but as droplets. Right, so this is the guttation, my dear children. So in guttation, water is released to the environment in the form of liquid, not in the form of a gas like in the transpiration. Right, so there is a huge difference between guttation and transpiration. Right, so this is another biological activity that's going to occur within the plant, which is helpful in maintaining water balance. Right then, so guttation is given, my dear children, the process of water being excluded in the liquid form from hydrothodes of the leaves is known as guttation. So removal of water in the liquid form through the hydrothodes of a plant leaf is called the guttation process. This is the process which is referred as the guttation. Right? Guttation and transpiration, they are way more different. Remember that thing. Transpiration happening in vapor or in gaseous form through stomata. Guttation happening in liquid form or as liquid droplets but through hydrothodes. Okay, right. So this is the guttation. Right. So my dear children, the process of water being excluded in the liquid form from hydrothodes of the plant leaves is known as guttation. Guttation occurs from the tip of the plants such as Haberella, Anthurium, grass and etc. Like tomato, potato can also be taken. And from the margins of the plants such as potato and tomato. See, I told you that from potato and from tomato, from the margins of the plant leaves, this guttation can be observed. The water in the droplets secreted from guttation gets evaporated during the daytime, but the salt gets left behind and can burn the tip of the leaves. You would have seen such burns in the plants such as Haberella. Now if you take the Haberella plant, at the end there are some certain Haberella plant leaf tip is like withered, dried out, burned out. It's because now upon releasing water in the droplet stage, some minerals and salts are also going to release with it. Right? Some water and some minerals and some salts are also going to release. So during daytime, water is going to evaporate. But however, those minerals and salts are going to remain within the plant leaf. So upon absorbing heat energy, the tip is going to burn out. But in the earlier case, in the transpiration process, only the water vapor is getting expelled. Only the water vapor is getting expelled, my dear children. Salts and minerals are not going to expel during the transpiration. But however, as the water is going out in the droplet state, during the guttation process, minerals and salts are also going to release. Okay, minerals and salts are also going to release. So there is a problem. Right? So there is a problem. During the daytime, water will evaporate and these substances will remain within the leaf. And the leaf tip is also going to dry out because of that. Okay, it's going to burn out. So that's why in Haberella plants, the tip is being withered or tip is being burned during the daytime. Okay, right. So this is the guttation. So now, my dear children, we are going to differentiate. We are going to find out the differences between the guttation and the transpiration. So you are given with the table to identify the differences between transpiration and the guttation. So now we are about to discuss what are the differences between transpiration and the guttation. Right. So first of all, given transpiration in this side. So the first and foremost difference is transpiration, the water is released in the form of water as water droplets, my dear children. Water is released in the form of droplets with minerals and other types of salts dissolved in it. But however, in guttation, right? However, in the guttation, water is released in the form of droplets or liquid. So, during transpiration, my dear children, right? It is not being released as droplets, but however, it is being released in the form of water vapor, right? It is being released as in water vapor, not as droplets. So, in transpiration, water released in the form of water, I'll mention this thing as water vapor, right? Within brackets. So, during the transpiration process, remember, water is released in the form of water vapor, right? Not in the form of droplets. But however, in guttation, water released in the form of drops or liquid. Okay, water is released in the form of drops or liquid form. Here as water vapor, over there as water drops or liquid form. Then occurs mainly through stomata. Now transpiration, that thing is going to occur mainly through stomata. Transpiration is happening through stomata. We discussed that. But guttation, that's going to occur through the hydrothodes of the plant leaf. Okay, not from the stomata, but from the hydrothodes of the plant leaf. Only water is released. Now in the transpiration process, I told you that minerals and salts are not getting mixed. Okay, only water vapor is getting released from transpiration, that's it. Only water vapor is getting released. Other substances are not getting released at all. Water vapor is getting released, that's it. In transpiration. But in guttation, water and salts are getting released. Different types of minerals, different types of salts are also getting released with the water droplets upon guttation. Okay. Next one. Occurs during both day and night time. Now transpiration, that is going to occur in both day and night time. During night the rate is low. Okay. But however it is happening. Rate is low but happening. Transpiration. So in both day and night time the transpiration is going to happen. But during night time the rate of transpiration is low because of having less favorable factors for the transpiration. But guttation mostly occurs during the night. It is going to occur within night time period upon having high amount of humidity and less amount of light. Okay. When humidity in the atmosphere is increased, rate of transpiration is decreased. Rate of humidity or the amount of humidity in the environment is high. Then you know that temperature in the environment is going to drop down as there are a large number of water vapor. Definitely the environment temperature will come down. So if there is less number of water particles within the atmosphere, means if there is less humidity, rate of transpiration is good for the transpiration process because there is plenty of sunlight and temperature within the environment. In a sunny day, humidity is low. In a windy and rainy day, humidity is very high. In simple, that's the case. So, my dear children, rate of transpiration is going to increase in a sunny day because of having favorable factors for the transpiration like the surf heat, windy nature and high intensity of light. In that kind of a situation, the humidity is less in the environment. So less humidity in the environment is going to increase the rate of transpiration. Obvious. So here, when humidity in the atmosphere is increased, rate of transpiration is decreased. When humidity in the environment is decreased, like in a sunny day, then the rate of transpiration is very high, increased. So humidity and transpiration, they have an opposite relationship. When humidity is high, transpiration rate is low. When humidity is low, transpiration rate is high. Okay. But what happens with the guttation? We know that guttation is going to mostly occur during the night time period. During the night time periods, there is no sun. If there is no sun, then the temperature is low. Upon having low temperature, high amount of water particles are getting gathered around the environment, decrease in the temperature, right? So, when humidity in the atmosphere is high, it increases the guttation. So guttation is mainly occurring because of having high humidity. So that's why that's going to happen mainly at the night time period, because at night time period, you know that, my dear children, our environment has large number of water particles or water vapor. So humidity in our atmosphere is going to highly affect for the guttation process. Higher the humidity, higher the guttation. Lower the humidity, lower the guttation. But it is opposite to transpiration. Transpiration is happening because of having high temperature, serve heat conditions. So upon having high humidity, serve heat conditions or high temperature is getting reduced. High temperature conditions cannot be observed if there is high humidity. So therefore, rate of transpiration in areas that has high humidity is going to decrease, right? During high humidity or during the period of high humidity, rate of transpiration is going to decrease. But however, for the guttation, it is a favorable factor, right? For guttation, it's going to increase. So humidity is a factor that is very helpful for the guttation process, but however, it is not helpful for the transpiration. Humidity is very important for the guttation, but for the transpiration, it is going to decrease the rate of transpiration, right? So these are the main differences that we can identify between transpiration and the guttation, right? So my dear children, we discussed several things, several biological processes related to this lesson. Okay, then finally, first of all, we discussed about the photosynthesis. Then after that, we discussed how the photosynthetic substances and other substances are getting transported in a plant. Under that, we discussed three main processes: diffusion, osmosis, and mass flow. Then we discussed finally the two main other biological processes that's going to occur within the plant in helping the maintenance of water balance. The first one is the transpiration, and the second one is the guttation, right? So we have came to the end of our lesson then. So before I'm going to wind up the lesson, let's see what are the special key points that we studied within this lesson under the summary part. So first of all, given plants are considered as the main living component that contributes much for the proper existence and security of the environment. We discussed by this thing in a broader extent, right? Under the first chapter of our lesson, I told you that these plants are very important for the maintenance of the biosphere. Then, plants ensure their existence by biological processes. Like us, like each and every living organism, they are going to do biological processes. The plants are going to do biological processes. From those biological processes, they are ensuring the existence. Okay. Then, some biological processes carried out by the plants are photosynthesis, transportation, and transpiration. So, transpiration, transportation, under the transportation we discussed about the diffusion, mass flow, and osmosis, and transpiration and guttation. So these are several, right? These are several methods of or biological processes of plants. Okay. It is important to transport water, a raw material of photosynthesis, to the leaves, and also starch, a product of photosynthesis, to the necessary parts of the plant. So the transportation is very important for the plant, especially transportation of water from root hairs to each and every places of our of the plant. Water is getting transported. Photosynthetic products, starch, is getting transported all around the plant body, and then finally to the storing agents. So this transportation is very important for the plant. The mechanisms such as diffusion, osmosis help for the plant to absorb water from soil by the plant, by the root hairs. So diffusion and osmosis are going to help for the absorption of water and carbon dioxide and removal of oxygen, like those kind of places. Diffusion and osmosis are going to be very helpful. Mass flow is the mechanism used to transport produced food along the phloem. Now phloem tissue is the one which is going to help in transporting food items, food prepared within the plant leaves. So to transport those food, mass flow is the one, or the biological process, the transportation process, which involves energy, which is referred as the mass flow, is the one which is helpful for transporting food substances within the plant. It is being transported by a special tissue which is called as phloem tissue, right? Then transpiration and guttation are important for the efficiency of transportation within the plants. So guttation, transpiration, those two processes are also helpful in increasing the rate of transportation within the plant. Especially transpiration helps in transporting water to the upper parts of the plant body. Transpiration pull is very important in transporting this water to the upper parts of the plant body. Then the plants in xeric environments, xerophatic plants, show many adaptations to minimize transpiration. So to minimize transpiration, the plants that grow in arid areas, xeric plants, okay, these plants should show different adaptations in order to minimize the rate of transpiration, like having spines, or leaves are being reduced to spines, shrunken leaves, then sunk stomata, having the waxy cuticles. So like that we discuss several adaptations that can be seen in plants in order to minimize the rate of transpiration. Why do they need to minimize the rate of transpiration? Because if the plant is going to lose a heavy amount of water because of transpiration, there might be a risk in drought season or in dry season, the plant may die because of losing too much of water. Okay. So it's important to maintain the water level, proper water level within the plant after the transpiration process. So the plants that grow in xeric environments, they have these adaptations in order to minimize the transpiration process, because in those environments the water level is very low. Okay. Then finally, the existence of plants ensure the conservation of the environment. So the plants are very important. These biological factors or biological features, biological processes carried out by these plants are very important for our environment. Okay, for the existence of our environment, for the existence of our biosphere, these biological processes carried out by the plants are very important. Right, so these are the things that we learned under this lesson, my dear children. So I hope that you got a good knowledge about the lesson part well. Right, so we have discussed all the theoretical parts related to the lesson, my dear children. Then I'm hoping that you got a good knowledge about the theories related to the biological processes in plants. So within our next chapter, we'll be discussing some questions related to the biological processes in plants lesson. So I'll hope that you stay with me until the end of the questions part as well. So we'll discuss several questions related to the lesson in our next chapter.